This is GKW. Welcome to another edition of Good Karma Wrestling. I'm Dave Neitzel from ESPN Milwaukee, and with me, as always, from ESPN West Palm, Brian Rowitz, and catch him on ESPN. He is Jonathan Hood. Happy New Year, boys. And the WWE celebrated the new year with a big announcement. They brought back a huge former WWE champion in Jinder Mahal. Which actually, I was talking to a friend here in the Milwaukee studios of Good Karma Brands, and he actually thought it was Jinder Mahal and was so mad, and begrudgingly respected the troll job that Triple H had pulled. But no, of course, it was The Rock who had to come back and defend the WWE universe and the entire country, because even though it's 2024, we're still going to do the foreign guy hates America shtick. But whatever, it worked for The Rock. But most importantly for The Rock, after he did all of the classic Rock things, he teased it. We've been waiting for it for a long time, and he asked if he should sit at the head of the table. So our question to begin tonight's GKW, and the first GKW of 2024, is what percent chance is The Rock going to be main eventing WrestleMania?
Well, first of all, I mean, I'll tell you what, I thought Muhammad Hassan had come back from 2002. Hey, Jinder, pretty good. Some good lines there. I'm like,
yes,
wow.
he did his part, but that's not necessary
in
24. You got the Heat just rolling him out there, and then to do the Punjabi thing. I was like, come on, guys.
I was about to say, do the national anthem in Punjabi. Oh, you booed your national anthem.
I thought there was a legit push there for a second. I said, hey, Mahal, pretty good stuff. Man. I haven't seen that since 2002. Hello, Muhammad Hassan. I'm from Michigan, and you Americans look down at me. I'm like, little Iron Sheik talked about?
Yeah.
Good stuff. Good. But then to come find out that here comes The Rock in San Diego, which was awesome. Another great pop for The Rock. Just amazing. Just huge amazing. Pop. So to answer the question, bro, it's now that The Rock has said, how about me being at the head of the table? Now it's a strong 75%.
Okay.
It's 75%. And I'm sure that behind the curtain, Cody Rhodes is saying, what about me? I'm stuck here with Shinsuke. What are we doing here? So I think that one of the nights we will see Rock and we will see Roman Reigns, at least one of the nights. Night two? Yep. Might be a different story. We'll see.
That's the thing at this point. We've seen it twice now. We've seen enough smoke. We've seen we talked about last year. It didn't work out. It's 100%. It's The Rock's Mania. You'll figure out, Cody, whether it be a triple threat or whether Roman main events both nights. But The Rock is main eventing a night of WrestleMania. It is 100% at this point.
All right. I'm with you. I'm with bro. It's 100%. Well, you know what? 99%, just because I need a little bit of liquid. So I'll go 99% so I don't operate in the extreme. But I think that there is a chance, because I think everybody agrees that Roman versus Rock does not need a championship. So what if, to really ignite this feud at Elimination Chamber in Perth, The Rock costs Roman the championship? That way Cody can still complete his story. Cody can go after the Universal Championship. CM Punk can go after Seth Rollins and the World Heavyweight Championship. And then you still have your main event of Rock. Because Rock versus Roman isn't about the Universal Undisputed Championship. It's about family supremacy. And you don't need the championship belt there. And you're able to still tell a compelling story while coming to, I think, what would be an ending to the Roman Reigns run that makes sense as champion, right? Because we keep wondering, well, how's he going to lose it? Well, and if Cody didn't win it from the first time, is it actually going to feel satisfying if he does it this time around? I think if you do it in a way where Rock costs him that championship, because the other questions we ask, whether it's Cody Rhodes, whether it's LA Knight, whether it's one of these people that goes up, you're not going up just against Roman Reigns, you're going up against the Bloodline. And how do you fight off the Bloodline? Well, with another member of, presumably, the Bloodline in Dwayne The Rock Johnson. And I think you can do that, especially because there's also a rumor out there that the fine folks in Australia and Perth had asked, hey, any chance we can get Dwayne down here? And you could potentially fulfill that obligation if The Rock can make it work. Again, he's a busy man. He's running the, UFL now? making the rounds talking about that. So he's got a lot of things going on. But if he can make that work and get down to Australia for that, I think that could be a satisfying way where you could kind of.
But you also have to remember those
happy.
governments always don't get what they want with Vince, because they also requested Yokozuna and Ultimate Warrior for some shows in the last few years. WWE was not able to come through with the two of them. So
yeah. Well, first of all, there will not be a title change in Perth, Australia.
Correct.
There will not be. That's not going to happen. We expect that Rhea Ripley more than likely will be at the top of that card in Perth, and that makes a lot of sense. What I'm telling you is that do not be surprised, and clip this, bro. It's especially if it happens, because I want to look like a genius. I'm telling you that Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes, I think it's going to happen at WrestleMania. This is why you have 2 nights. That's night 2. Rock and Roman can still happen in night 1. If Roman wrestles twice, it would not surprise me. But I think that, when it comes to the story, one thing about Triple H is that he likes to tease. He likes to be able to string it out. But I still believe that the story can be closed in Philadelphia with Roman and Cody. I'm just telling you. But I still think
So what you do that night 1, because Rock Roman has to close out the entire show. We keep asking what's the biggest thing WWE can do, and it's Rock versus Roman. You can't do that on night
Cody
1.
In there
that closes out the whole show. That's like when Charlotte got thrown into with Becky and Ronda Rousey when they finally got to main event WrestleMania. It's like, what the hell's she doing here? What the hell's Brett Favre doing here? Like, what are we doing in this situation? Like, why would you? The only reason to throw Cody in there is for him to eat the pin and somehow further the bloodline story. You need it's family, man. Like the story. If Cody gets thrown in there, like that is just so incomplete and doesn't tell the story you should be telling of. Family
Cody
versus
pins
family.
the Rock. Cody gets the belt, but then Roman doesn't take the pin, and then you can continue to push that ball down the line to say SummerSlam, where it's Roman and Cody, and you do it that way.
Yeah, but that doesn't. Does that feel satisfying?
No, that's why Cody should have won last year. That's the thing. Like, this is further proving that they really dropped the ball at WrestleMania 39 and not letting Cody win it that night.
Gabe, is any of this satisfying where Sami Zayn doesn't get it and Drew McIntyre doesn't get it and Brock doesn't get it? Does any of this seem satisfying? he's on a Bruno-like run, okay? And at some point you gotta stop this thing. What I believe is that WWE wants Roman to eclipse Hogan. And I'm not sure how that's going to be. And bro, please look at the numbers on that. I think that Roman is on the precipice of being able to get past Hogan. But I think that he'd have to win past WrestleMania to get that done. So what I'm saying is that I really believe that we're going to get, Rock versus Roman. And again, Rock's not going to win that match because he's not winning the championship. But then what about
Correct.
Cody? Cody's not in the Seth Rollins sweepstakes. He can't finish. That's not really finishing the story.
No, but that's why, again, I know you guys aren't high on the idea of Roman dropping it in Perth, but that's going to be 60 to 70,000 people there. Like, that's a big enough event where I think you could have Roman drop it there with The Rock costing him, upping the stakes of the family versus
5
family.
a.m. Eastern time.
And also that same crowd at Clash in the Castle, same type of crowd, right? 60, 65,000 people going home pissed because Drew didn't get the title.
Well, no, Drew sung American Pie with Fury, so it's fine. Like, everybody went home happy. That made everybody happy there. Singing American Pie.
When he sung that, we knew that concussions were real.
Which one of those two?
Yes. But I mean, to me, I did not be surprised if Roman wrestles twice. It would not surprise me. Would not surprise me. I mean, because like, when will Cody ever be able to finish his story? And I know, like, my buddy Dave LaGreca and others are really high on this. They want Cody to finish the story. Well, it's been 2 years. Like, if it doesn't happen now, then when's going to happen?
I'm starting to root for Shinsuke to end the story. Like, Shinsuke's a badass, man. Like, that's kind of how I feel about it right now. Like, if Shinsuke ends the story, maybe that's okay at this point. Because I don't know, man. Like, if Cody doesn't finish the story, and at this point, whenever he does, it's just going to be kind of okay, fine, he got it out of the way. But if it doesn't happen at this WrestleMania, and we have to do another year of this, Oh man, like I would be all the way out on Cody finishing his story at that.
Like that's where we're at though. Like they put themselves in this situation, even by splitting up the titles, like they're still in the same predicament. And there really is no satisfying end to this now. Solo, maybe eventually.
What if Rock costs at okay, so if we're not high on Perth and they're not going to have Roman wrestle on 2 nights, what if he costs Roman? What if The Rock costs Roman here in the States at the Royal Rumble?
A title change?
Yeah, title change
You're
at
assuming Roman showing up at the Rumble. Hell, you're assuming Roman showing up in Perth. Like we don't even know that
yet. No, but again, I think he's got to be there. Like Roman's got to be. Rock can't show up more than Roman.
No. How about this? Rock and Roman, neither one of them in Perth. How about that?
You get Rhea and you're happy about it, okay?
Hey, Rhea at the top of the card against who? I'm not even sure who.
CM Punk.
Okay, I'm in.
Well, so that's what I'm saying. At the Rumble, that's when you do it. And yes, I believe that Roman is going to be at the Rumble.
Yes. Roman at the Rumble, yes. Yes. Perth, no. I don't think that's going to be the case.
SmackDown's in Green Bay.
So
that's
do the title change.
What Roman does nowadays.
Sure, yeah, Green Bay of all places. Come on, man. Like, what are we?
That was at the Resch. Was that?
Where's the head of the table dining?
Was that Resch? Was that a Resch Center?
Yeah,
nice
yeah, it's at the Resch Center. Yep. Yeah, it's a very nice, intimate arena. You know, right across the street from Lambeau Field. But I think you have to try to figure out a way to do a title change and get the belt off of him. Otherwise, when does the championship come off of it? I know at this point our minds are just set on this has been such a long run. It has to happen at Mania. But I think, again, Rock versus Roman for the belt, that if it's for the belt or not for the belt, it's the biggest thing you can do. So why not take the belt off of him and create even more big matches?
Here's a topic, and I'm sure that, bro, we probably should save this for next week, but it just popped in my mind. So for the average wrestling fan, what is the bigger story? What do you want more? Do you want Roman to lose the championship, or do you want Cody to finish the story? What's bigger for you? Because with Cody, if he doesn't win it at WrestleMania, he may not be in the main event. I mean, what if he's not? And you kick the can down the road to SummerSlam or Survivor Series. I mean, this is kind of very similar to his father, Dusty Rhodes, right? Chasing the championship all those years against Ric Flair or Harley Race. And it's like, man, people in the 80s were like, man, when Dusty wins the championship, and he'd always lose or win by disqualification or lose because of a messed up finish, whatever. But people were anticipating, can't wait. And then Dusty wins the championship, and people are like, okay, what now? He won the championship. Okay. And then he loses it after 3 months because people liked him chasing more so than being the champion. So I'm just wondering, like, what's more important, do you think, to the average fan?
I think Roman dropping the belt is more important because as over as Cody is, first of all, Cody's not even on SmackDown. Like, Cody hasn't interacted. When's the last time Cody interacted with Roman Reigns? I know he keeps hinting at it.
Random where he showed up on SmackDown. I think they crossed paths, but all this like broke them up.
That's right.
So one time, yes.
So, but
to your point.
But wouldn't it be just as exciting for LA Knight to win the championship over Roman Reigns?
Off. He's done the loop on that holiday tour, beating Jimmy Uso's ass in every cage match around the loop. That's good for a nice little, mid card. What happened to him?
Well, to your point, Hood, like
it's obvious what happened to him. They had an opportunity to push him, and then they're like, we're not going to put him on TV for a couple weeks. So
well, what happened to him, Gabe, is that the part timers start coming in, and all of a sudden, here comes Randy, and then here comes AJ Styles, and all of a sudden, with each guy pushed down the card. Doesn't mean that he's out of the mix. I'm just saying, like, he's pushed down, not as important as the other guys.
Oh, he's very much out of the mix.
Well, he's not. Yeah, he's not featured. That's the problem. Like, he's still over. People still love doing his shtick, but he's just not featured.
He'll eat the pin tomorrow. He'll be featured in that regard. That triple threat match. He'll be there for that.
Yep.
But like in terms of the Cody part, like which one's more satisfying? Like from a wrestling standpoint, I feel like wrestling fans will be into Cody finishing the story, being a champion. Is it crazy to suggest having the title change night after Mania? The Raw? Give it away on free TV?
It's people like to pay for those things. You like for that to be on Peacock, wouldn't you?
I mean, just, you get Rock Roman on one night, you give Seth and Punk another night, and then on Raw, it's Cody Roman.
This guy is like in 1998.
This guy's
Kane, the heavyweight champion.
He's got Damian Priest cashing in the night after Mania. He's just writing the Dolph Ziggler story, but he's doing
I think Priest forgot he has the briefcase at this point.
With Senior Money in the Bank.
That's not going to result in a world title either. You're talking about guys forgotten. There's no way Priest is going to be a world champion by the end of this.
Either.
He's botched trying to cash it in so many damn times that there's no way you can trust him to actually cash it in. Like, he's going to be the first one where the contract expires.
Oh, no.
That's pretty funny. I'd like to know that. All I like from to open it up is like, wait, this is expired? Can I get an extension? No? Okay. Well, here's your briefcase. All right.
He's going to go to Toronto and be like, I'm cashing in. Like, sorry, dude. Like, you had a year. What do you want?
He wins the championship at WrestleMania. Like, whether Punk or Rollins wins, I think that's the time he cashes it in.
Okay. And then loses?
He wins. So Punk or Rollins retains as quickly as Adam Copeland won the TNT championship and lost it in the same night.
I think it's going to
run. Pretty much something like that. That's what I expect at WrestleMania.
But I think we all agree Rock is somehow main eventing WrestleMania. How we get there is going to be interesting and certainly depends upon a lot of factors.
What's your number?
We've got a lot
I said 75. You say
100.
99.
100. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll just hold.
You just can't show up and be like, should I sit at the head of the table and just have the thing?
I was just wondering, like, if there's an injury. That's the only thing. That's the reason why I went 75%.
Sure.
Like, he might. Well, one of his football players might tackle him on the field from the UFL. You never know. Get that. He can stumble over grass.
He was a little gassed on Monday after that people's elbow.
That promo, man. He was like, "What should I do? Should I sit at the bar? If you smell
there wasn't a lot of L's there. We're gonna smell. We gotta go.
No, it was just smell. He
had
to get out of there. Had to get out of there. Plenty of other things happening, though, in the world of professional wrestling. We like to call it the 3 count here on GKW. Brian,
all right. In the world of AEW, they celebrated 5 years this week, New Year's Eve. So what's been the best and what's been the worst moment in AEW of their 5-year history?
So what are we starting with? Best here? Do we want to start? We'll start with best. I mean, best is clearly Wembley. Like, to be able to put together that show and have one of the whatever. I don't care whatever the reported numbers are. I don't care. Stop debating it on Twitter. But to put it together a show that big within the first 5 years of your existence and to sell a lot of those tickets without even announcing what the main event was going to be, what the card was going to be, clearly that shows that you have a lot of potential as a company. And yeah, they have a lot of those negatives and lows, certainly that we can talk about. But the best thing that they've done clearly is being able to go over to Wembley and put together the show that they did.
There's no question. Think about it. If it's 81,000 people, and this is how WWE does it, guys, as we know. They just say WWE's coming to town. It's like, oh, I'm going to get a ticket. You don't know who's in the main event. You don't know who's on the card. For AEW, an alternative brand to be able to do that is a huge success, a feather in their cap. And on top of that, not that good of a main event. That wasn't a Hogan Andre at the top. That wasn't Roman at the top. It was kind of like MJF and Adam Cole, which is fine for a Dynamite or Revolution. But I mean, the idea that they were able to do that, and it shows you how great the UK crowd is, that they went to support and just be part of something special. To pack that place is great. I think also on top of that, guys, a positive is that they've got something that the NWA and MLW and Game Changer doesn't have, and all your favorite indies don't have. They got TV, and they got more than just TV. They're adding those extra shows, and again, I don't care about all these other so-called TV experts about ratings because they don't understand them, just like we don't understand them either. Point is, though, is that there is a company that's willing to pay you to put wrestling on Fridays and Saturday nights. Like, they're paying you to do this. So whatever the number is, that's a positive because that's money in your coffers. So I think that that's a positive as well. Bro, it's that big crowd. in the UK in good TV, and they're still sustainable. They're still hanging in there pretty well for a company that's 5 years old.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. When you step back and realize what they did at Wembley, like it is damn impressive. And that obviously is top of the list. The others I throw out there, the development of MJF, like him being a legit star in the business right now, is because of AEW and what they've done with him. And also, and I think I also would put this on the worst side, they got CM Punk to come back. No one else was able to do that. Like they still had that moment, and it was, a rocky relationship at best, but they got CM Punk to come back.
Oh, the first dance is definitely one of the best moments. Like, I mean, to sell out the United Center, to have that pop for CM Punk, to draw the rating, the number that they did on a Friday night Rampage, like that was certainly one of the spectacular moments. And yes, then brawl out, brawl in, like all becomes part of the negative side of it. But that doesn't take away the electricity and the specialness that was CM Punk.
Gabe, I was there as I told you the story before, I was there at the United Center for that. And it just made me feel great as a wrestling fan again. Not trying to be over dramatic, but just the idea that I'm at the United Center and everybody knows the worst kept secret in the business that CM Punk was coming in, and people were chanting CM Punk from the parking lot to the concourse to the bathrooms, everywhere else, chanting CM Punk. And then he arrives and I'm there. And again, this is under AEW's brand, and it was great. And then I went to Milwaukee after that, and it made me feel so good. I was like, what if I just went on tour with him? But how about like I think Cincinnati was next or whatever. I'm like, what if I just keep going, right? Because with Punk being there and just the good feeling of the company. I mean, AEW's brought back some great memories for me watching WCW or watching the WWE in the Attitude Era. So I just think that alternative brand, even the missteps, the ups and downs, they've provided some great moments, and they provided some pro wrestling, terrific in-ring product. They want to be an alternative for sure. They were not sports entertainment at the beginning. They were about the in-ring product, and they gave us a lot of that so far.
Yep, 100%.
Can I nominate Sting? How they've handled Sting, I think, has been a pretty good thing. Like some of those Sting spots that he's done, I can't remember which pay-per-view it was, but when he's like jumping from the crowd, like above, where one of the tunnels are, down onto people, like the way they've used Sting and kept him special and had him create a lot of those cool moments on his way out the door. Like I think that's certainly a highlight of the first 5 years of AEW.
Yeah,
as well.
that's it. They've done so much right in the ring that, like, yes, we criticize them when we talk about their booking, but like they've given us that pro wrestling. They give us those pay-per-views that we talk about all the time where there might be some holes in storytelling, but we know it's going to deliver in the ring. And that's something as a wrestling fan that is exciting and one of the best parts of AEW existing right now.
The worst part for me, Gabe, about AEW is that we come to find out through 5 years that Tony Khan isn't much of a leader. He's a CEO for sure, but not much of a leader. Now, I want to make a parallel between Tony Khan and Vince McMahon only in this regard. Vince, and it's not talked about enough, how he enabled the Click and enabled HBK. For whatever reason, I think that for some reason, like HBK was more of a son or more like Vince than Shane was, because HBK was wild and he was doing shit in the back and was trying to manipulate in the whole thing with Bret Hart and a lot of stuff. Shawn got away with a lot under Vince, and so did Triple H, and so did the whole Click thing. And same thing here with Tony Khan, more of an enabler more than anything else. Having to put a committee together of discipline instead of you just being able to say, all right, that's enough, you're fired. I mean, even Vince has done that in the past. But I think that the real black mark for AEW for me, guys, is that Tony Khan, for all the good he's put as far as putting matches together and making us feel good about the in-ring product, behind the scenes, really a substitute teacher more so than a CEO.
And I think that was highlighted in the post-press conference after World's End this week, because he was asked a couple of serious questions about sexual harassment. Some pretty serious questions went his way. And the first time he answered the first one, because there were a number of them that came his way, he still had the goofy hat and sunglasses on that were put on him by Tony Storm. Like at that point, you have to realize, okay, like you're having fun at the press conference. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with having these, having the wrestlers come through and you got the hat on, you're having a good time. But the second that you decide that you're going to answer the serious question while not looking serious, while being in this ridiculous outfit, like you got to be serious in that moment, Tony. and he hasn't. It seems like hasn't been able to figure out that, hey, at times you got to be serious doing this. There are serious consequences here, and he definitely needs
that's
to
why
figure that out.
The thing I wrote top of the list for worst is CM Punk and just the way that was handled, because you enabled him and then you also pushed out the Elite, and where they're at right now doesn't seem to be a good spot. Like, that was all sort of enabled and put in that position to where even, a Jungle Boy feels empowered to go out there and does what he does on TV and talk about the class. Like, that is a reflection of the top, and that's been their biggest issue so far.
Some of the funny, like, not to transition from like the serious one, but like some of the worst moments that came to my head. Eddie Kingston still pretending like the ring blew up when the ring didn't blow up. Cody Rhodes ending racism with his promo. So kudos to Cody
Harold
for
Reach
that.
at the pizza cutter spot. Nick Gage, shout out to Domino's. That one wasn't well received.
Yeah, I mean there have been some more humorous worst moments for AEW during this run, but the one that really stands out to me, the orange mimosa, the mimosa match between Chris Jericho and
we talked about
Orange
Forbidden
Cassidy.
Door 1 and how that sort of cooled off AEW.
Yeah, that wasn't great. But again, but it led to a positive at least, because they learned the second time around. They had so much momentum that they then halted to try to set up the matches and tell some stories heading into Forbidden Door 1. That certainly was a negative, and it is certainly. I don't know if they've been as hot since coming off of that Double or Nothing that cooled down that quickly.
I also would throw in for worst Matt Hardy. Just Yeah, just in general. Yeah, him on
just
TV,
in general.
Him trying to wrestle, him on Twitter. Like, we got enough. Thanks for your time, Matt.
It was interesting that Private Party debuted and broke away from the Hardys, which is good for them. Trying to think of other.
I mean, I just remember like the start and stop booking in terms of AEW. Like, when we have guys and girls that get so hot, and then it's like, maybe I should take a few weeks off. It's like, no, like, do more. Let's see them more. Like, there's been too much of that in AEW.
And honestly, this all probably starts. I mean, another bad one was the rumors surrounding Thunder Rosa and her refusal to give up the AEW Women's Championship. I think that was kind of the tip of the iceberg that we then discovered that led, maybe there are some deeper issues going on inside that AEW locker room. I think that kind of started snowballing for AEW. It started there. Then obviously we got the brawl in, brawl out, and all the other kind of locker room stuff.
But hey, 5 years still kicking, so that's a win.
Look, and I think overall the 5 years has been positive. Like, there are negative things, and you want to talk about the booking. I mean, we're just making fun of Triple H and his booking and how he dealt, cooled down LA Knight. Like, not every booking decision is going to be perfect, and Tony Khan still has a long way to go in terms of his booking. But I think that he has shown that he has learned lessons, as we pointed out with Forbidden Door 1, Forbidden Door 2. They put on great pay-per-views. I think we would wish they would love, we would love it if they told some more meaningful long-term stories. But that comes with time. That comes with experience. That comes with actually listening to some of the people like Bryan Danielson around you, and hopefully that just continues. I mean, 5 years of AEW, man, tip of the cap to you. Again, this whole thing started with a 10, can they fill a 10,000, seat place? And they did it the first All In, and for that to grow to what it has today, I think that's overwhelmingly a success. And I will shout out, because I think it was a great, I don't know if anybody else had a chance to read it. MJF wrote a great piece at the
Players Tribune.
I'm blanking on the name of the place, Players Tribune, about how, like, he just doesn't understand the people rooting for AEW to fail, because, like, having competition, like, do we think the bloodline happens without AEW?
No.
I don't. I certainly do not. Having competition makes everybody better. It gives you more options, and it makes it cooler when people are going back and forth. It just makes pro wrestling a better place to be. So, tip of the cap.
We've talked a lot about how 24 is going to be such an exciting time in wrestling, and free agency is a thing again, which we'll get to. But, like, WWE post WCW was bad, and AEW has made them better. They've made pro wrestling better. Impact's gotten better. New Japan, like, that is because of the existence of AEW.
What do we got at number 2 this
AEW
week?
Saturday night on Long Island, Samoa Joe beat MJF. to become the new AEW World Champion. Who should be Samoa Joe's first challenger for that world title?
This is a complicated one because Swerve is so hot, and yet I don't think they want to have a short, meaningless run for Samoa Joe. So I kind of have a feeling that I may end up being way off on this, but it seemed like to me they threw Hangman in to reignite that feud with Swerve so we could have a three-way between Swerve, Hangman, and Joe, only for Hangman to take the pin to try to keep Swerve Strickland as hot as he is.
Does that mean that Hangman wins the championship, or
no? Hangman's eating the pin.
Okay, against Samoa Joe. Okay.
Yeah, he's eating the pin from Samoa Joe pins him. Swerve doesn't get pinned. Swerve can still kind of continue whatever chase he wants, but it just seems like and they kind of ran into this with Ricky Starks early in the MJF run. I have more confidence that Swerve and the performer that he is going to be able to keep himself hotter than Ricky was after he had that early championship attempt at MJF, but it just seems like I don't want to take the championship right off of Samoa Joe just to put it on Swerve.
Eventually that'll happen, but I want Joe to be able to have some really good matches. It sounds like Wardlow is going to be one of the first to be able to step up for this, right? Wardlow Joe, I think that looks good in the ring.
But isn't that like Joe was leaning in on being a heel? Wardlow's a heel. Like, I think to Revolution, which is the next pay-per-view, March 3rd in Greensboro, is that a pay-per-view main event?
Is Joe a heel?
Yes.
Yeah, he's pretty aligned. He's pretty aligned with the devil just helped him out and softened up MJF.
I don't know if that's clearly defined in AEW. Do you?
He called Adam Cole called him a friend. He called Samoa Joe a friend during the promo.
That's it. But he's a cool heel then. And there's a lot of those in wrestling because I mean he gets cheered.
Look, I'm all in on cool heel Samoa Joe. Like I am a huge Samoa Joe fan. Could not be more excited. To answer your question, bro, it does not main event because I think Sting's going to main event. Like Sting's last match has to main event.
So I'll throw this out there with Joe being a heel. Could Revolution main event be Joe and Sting for the title?
No, you're not trying to murder Sting at the end. My God, you're trying to murder him? My God.
Well, just making a triple threat with Roosh, why don't you?
Murder him? I mean, he's better than that, isn't he?
Not on board with that? Final match, world title? You get the Impact feels?
This is why we've always said Tony's done a great job, right? Because Vince would have put him out there, right? Well, God damn it, pal. I mean, you're Sting, like he did the Undertaker. I mean, listen, this is why they've done a wonderful job with kid gloves taking care of Sting. Get it yourself in a 6-man, 8-man tag team match, 5-10 minutes, nice and clean, in and out, get the pin, stay undefeated. So long, everybody.
They haven't announced an opponent yet. What way to go out? You get the tease? Like, is Sting going to be a world champ again?
No.
Is Sting, because Sting's old school, is Sting going to go out on his back?
He should, but he won't. Because especially if he's in the main event, that feeling of, it'll be like what we just saw at World's End. You notice how deflated the crowd was in Uniondale? They're like, oh, like you knew he was going to lose the title. But people hold out hope in New York, and there's like, so the people
also
go
that
home
crowd
unhappy.
Sucked. That was not a good crowd Saturday.
Well, they want to be sports entertained. That's why. Well, they did.
Well, in fairness, the first half of the card didn't really do its job in kind of keeping everything.
For 3/4 of the card, before the final 3 matches, I'd say that. But so I'll give them that.
Yeah, the last 3 matches were spectacular. But more on that.
Some pay-per-views are a 3-match card though. But I just thought that a lot of that was Rampage.
Yeah.
I'm like Abaddon, really? Like explain to me who Abaddon is. That's all.
I mean, it was Saturday night. It was basically Collision until the last 3 matches.
So did we go through all the names, guys? Because okay, so what I'm saying is that as huge as this roster is, are there really believable contenders for Joe? I mean, think about it. There's a lot of wrestlers on this roster, that and ROH, but are they really believable? Like, oh man, if this is the matchup, Joe could lose the title.
But remember, we're a month removed from all those contenders for MJF. Like with the Jay White, with the Cole, with Joe. Like we had all of them right there. It just didn't feel like we're there anymore.
Well, that's because now a heel is champion. Like they've got a roster full of heels ready to challenge. Like we just mentioned Wardlow. Like I think Wardlow's ready to challenge. Obviously, whenever Adam Cole becomes healthy, he's ready to challenge. You could always, throw Jay White out there, Swerve Strickland. Like, I mean, is it Claudio? Is it? I don't know. Like babyface wise, they don't have a lot of baby faces that are ready to line up to that heel challenge, that heel
Darby,
champion right now.
Orange.
Well, it was Darby until that match last night. Now he's just a bouncing ball now, for God's sakes. I mean, but I think that's the point we have to make, though, because as much as we like the roster for AEW, the believable main event caliber opponents for Joe on the babyface side, man, Hangman Page is right there.
Yeah.
But do you believe that he's going to be champion? Daniel Garcia?
No, but I mean, that's kind of, I think that's, you do have to build a believable one. Whoever challenges first doesn't necessarily become a, like Shinsuke Nakamura. I'm just going to go over the WWE side. Like Shinsuke Nakamura was a great challenger, I thought, for Seth Rollins. I didn't for a second believe he was going to win the championship, right? Like it just wasn't going to happen. You're not going to give it to Shin. We know that, but they still told a good story. I don't know. I mean, they might be able to tell a good story with Samoa Joe if Hangman Page is the first one, because he is a former AEW champion. He is one of their top baby faces. I think you could tell a good story, even though we know he's not.
Well, I mean, Hood, you said almost dismissive, but like if we know this world title match, his first, pay-per-view one, is it going to be the main event? Maybe you can get away with the Daniel Garcia. Like the crowd's been so into him, the way they ended the Continental Classic with him, like maybe there is something there.
Yes, this is Barry Horowitz. Lose 100 matches and then all of a sudden this is what it is, right? Like, and we all respect Daniel Garcia. I don't know why he's had to go through this losing streak, but I mean, if you're trying to tear him down to build him up again, it's got to be more than just the fist. What else?
Sure.
He does that, and it can wrestle pure title matches in ROH. And then what? I saw his sit down, by the way, with Renee, and I still didn't get a lie. It was 4 minutes. I don't know if you guys saw this online. I'm watching this, and it's like he says, "Yeah, I like to moisturize. Yeah, I like to, I feel like it's great that I can be able to moisturize my skin, and I get a lot of rest and sleep." I'm like, dude, come on, man.
That dance off was electric though with Nana. The crowd was eating that up last night.
He badly needs Daddy Magic as a manager because it's the only entertainment there.
Well, but I think that's what Daddy Magic's kind of becoming, is like Daddy Magic's the personality there, where Garcia's the guy in the ring.
It's not good enough.
Because they put Daddy Magic on commentary.
Another one I'll throw out, because just thinking about the Continental Classic, they were slowly building them up. Maybe more of a face turn, Brody. We know that match would deliver.
Oh, well, no question. I'm a big Brody King fan.
Yeah, and slapping meat. Well, and the other thing is, maybe it could be heel versus heel, because what they at least started to do with the Undisputed Kingdom is the first people who came out were also heels. You also had Bullet Club Gold come out and be like those first ones out there. So you might be able to do a heel versus heel thing, especially because you don't have that baby face.
Look at this roster. Boy, they got a heel factory, don't they?
Yeah.
Whew.
They do.
Now here it is. What Joe told you in the press conference, he goes, "I'll take on anybody." And in AEW, that works, right? In WWE, with its more story and heel versus babyface, that's the foundation that Triple H wants to be able to get back. With AEW, they're like, all right, Brian Cage going out there against Joe, Vikingo, like whomever. Just put a match, because that's how Tony looks at it. Just a good match and a good card.
Because, I mean, the biggest baby faces right now are also like Eddie Kingston's one of your top baby faces right now. He's got his own championship. Orange Cassidy obviously has a championship. Like, I don't think we're going to recycle Mox back out there right now, right? Like, to be a challenger. I don't think we're at that point where you just want to throw Mox out there.
That's a babyface faction, right? BCC?
Maybe.
I think so.
You know what I mean?
Well, so here's the thing. I think Mox and Danielson are baby faces. Wheeler's definitely a heel. And I think Claudio's kind of a heel too.
But Brian's a heel when he's facing Eddie. Yeah, he was leaning in on that.
Yeah. That switched.
He called him a bum. You can't call Eddie Kingston a bum. He's a Continental Classic champion there.
See how murky it is with Danielson? I'm supposed to be a babyface, but then you call someone a bum. Like, and it was and Danielson wrestled as a heel against Kingston in that match.
Mm-hmm.
It's maybe it doesn't matter as much to AEW as much as it is to us, but when I look at this roster, boy, there's a lot of heels there. And again, still good matchups for Joe. If you don't care about babyface and heel, there's plenty of good matchups. You're just not going to get the person you always cheer for.
Right.
You know?
That's why we're rooting for Samoa Joe, baby. Put him up.
I'll put him up.
What do we got at number 3?
Rumors and free agency in the women's division of both companies. Currently, we saw AEW last night add Deonna Purrazzo. Also rumored is going to be adding Mercedes Moné coming up soon. The WWE reportedly going to be re-adding Trinity to their roster in 2024. Which women's division will be better?
The better roster, I think, belongs
AEW.
I think it does, but the problem is they don't get get booked. And if I'm looking at this, like the better roster, yes, is AEW, because Mercedes Moné is one of the biggest female wrestling stars out there. Like she's crossed over, she's appearing in a lot of different things as an actress as well. So she's starting to have that crossover appeal a little bit. But the problem is, like, the women just don't get the time that they do over in WWE. Like, again, as evidenced by one of the top stars in WWE is Rhea Ripley. Like, she is she is Monday Night Raw. Gets featured a ton on Monday Night Raw. So what she, and that just shows you, okay, you give the women time. This is what they can be. This is what they can do. They can carry your company. And I think if the women got more of an opportunity, I think that they could shine in AEW. They just haven't figured out how to do it yet for whatever reason.
Just as an aside, talking about the women, it's funny we bring this up, bro. It's because, did you notice Monday Night Raw this past Monday in San Diego? Did you notice, if I'm not mistaken, wasn't there 3 women's matches on the card? I believe it was. Nia Jackson, Becky Lynch. We got Rhea Ripley, Ivy Nile, and we've got Zoe Stark and Baszler,
and then a tag match.
Tegan Nox and Natalya. I don't know how often we've seen that, but I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, I mean, that tag match put in a rough spot to follow Dwayne. So the crowd was a little exhausted, but yes, I get your point.
So, okay, it is. You are correct when you say, well, how can AEW do this? It's been a long time bitch of a lot of people on the internet regarding how AEW doesn't utilize the women properly, or they're not getting enough shine. Hell, it's led by Britt Baker, who I mean, late last year, she was just like, hey, where's my time? Now she's been hurt and she's still looking for time. It doesn't mean that, hey, her voice still works. She just can't work in the ring right now. But look at that roster, right? Not adding Deonna Purrazzo. This person hit GKW_wrestling yesterday. And I said, hey, this is great. Deonna Purrazzo coming from Impact Wrestling. This is great. And I said, my response was, it's great because it adds more of a veteran presence to the roster. She won't be able to add any ratings or attendance. I go, first of all, go pound sand. What are you talking about? I was like, do you mean that every person that you bring into your wrestling company is supposed to be there to increase the ratings 100% and increase attendance? No, it's like a baseball team or a football team. You're just adding to your roster so you can have a winning roster. Purrazzo is one of those people that you bring in. She's had a lot of great matches, and she'll be a nice veteran. If they utilize her properly, she'll be in the title picture. But, I mean, I think that's cool. I think that they have a number of women, but as you guys said, they just need to be utilized a lot more and be put in the spotlight a lot more. They got it right with Julia Hart.
Yeah. And Tony.
Yeah.
Tony.
So, I mean, yeah, with Tony, again, but it just seems like they're trying to get more women involved, but it just it ends up being these backstage vignettes. Like, I mean, how long was Tony's thing with Renee this week? 30 seconds? Before she was scooped up and said her, she doesn't even say her full catchphrase anymore. It's just, she's shortened it to 3 words. And then
I noticed that.
which that may have sounded like I'm complaining. It's not. It's hilarious. A+ work in that 30 seconds. I just wish she had more, is what I'm saying.
So long.
And
Gone.
Yeah. and then you have the whole thing with, the Outcasts. They're trying to keep that alive. That ends up being a backstage thing with Renee as well, with Saraya and Ruby. But so that's all they kind of get, and then maybe you get a match out there. But the one match they get was Mariah May's debut, which was really just a tool to get.
But that was a good match.
Yeah,
like we at least got a good match that wasn't a squash. And Mariah, I'll admit, is not someone I've watched, but everyone seems to be very high on her. So hopefully we get stuff there. You have Tony, you have Britt, you have Sky,
you got
Jamie Hayter eventually. I mean, Hood and I were talking before the show. You have Athena on this roster who's doing unbelievable work. You're just putting her behind a paywall for some reason.
So, a nice vignette for Serena Deeb. She's back.
Yes. So
Serena Deeb's vignette was spectacular.
There's stuff to work with there. But yes, I completely agree. I'm not ready to give them the benefit of the doubt yet and say, oh yeah, with this roster, they're going to cook, because we haven't seen it with the women's division just yet.
With this roster, they should.
Yes, 100%.
They should. They should cook. And because you take a look at WWE, and WWE's women's roster is, this is the golden era of women's wrestling. But the women's roster they have over there, we mentioned the ones that were featured on Monday Night Raw. And of course, unfortunately for them, Charlotte Flair's probably going to be out most of the year.
But I think they're okay in that
she works
department.
Back from her knee.
Them losing Charlotte isn't a huge blow for that women's division.
No, but I would say that it's pretty wild to me that Mariah May had went to AEW after they lost Jade, and we haven't seen Jade over in WWE. Continues to just be. You want to talk about
Food Network this week?
They
though.
Put her out there, paraded her around, and we have not seen Jade Cargill. Do we see her at the Rumble? Is that what they're trying to wait for?
Yeah, possibly. And I think the other possibility is the bell rang. I think that also was a problem.
Yeah.
We've been through this
100%.
game, and just like, boy, she looks great. All right, let me see what you can do. Oh shit. Okay, we got some work to do. Who taught you? QT Marshall? Oh, okay. All right, we need to build you down to build you back up again, so you learn the WWE style.
They even had the weird spotlight. The Food Network thing. They're promoting that Willow was on Food Network due to the Warner relationship. Jade was also on that episode. So I guess whenever they filmed it, she still worked for AEW. She retweeted, hey, I'm on also. It's promote that.
Oh, but that's another person in the AEW roster. Willow's got a ton of potential over there. But my point with Mariah May, I would say with May, the possibility of Monet and Deonna Purrazzo, AEW's winning that free agent war with WWE because their one big one, Jade Cargill, has not done anything since she's been signed.
And also in terms of 24, I feel haven't we sort of heard that Becky's up in 24? If they actually start developing a women's roster, isn't that intriguing to someone like her that wants to work?
I would be shocked if Becky left WWE.
He says he's holding out hope. He's because maybe Adam Copeland's the Pied Piper.
Yeah,
it's not so bad over here, right? I think it's Rollins and Becky, I believe, are up this year. I believe they both are.
Yeah, I'm guessing they're wherever they go together, and I have a hard time imagining that they leave. WWE.
It's 2024. And we continue to see there's a possibility in this year of our Lord 2024 that the WWE and AEW could be under the same umbrella from a television standpoint. In which,
well, again, that happens. That all bets are off if everybody's under if Warner Brothers Discovery Paramount ends up becoming the Lord of all professional wrestling.
Gabe,
then anything is
you get that. If it's Warner Brothers Discovery and under the same umbrella, you'll get some trades, man. You'll start getting some trades of talent. You get. So here's the trade, right? The trade is it's Becky and Seth going to AEW, and on the other side, it's House of Black going back to WWE.
Ooh.
Is that fair? Or maybe a little bit more from AEW. Actually, they can.
I think you need some more there.
You need more?
Yeah.
What else do you want to? What do you also want to give? Because you got the face of the women's division already with Becky. Yeah. Then you have Seth, right? Okay. On the other side, I said House of Black. No Julia Hart, just the guys.
Yeah.
Oh, just the guys.
Oh, no,
I
no,
thought
no.
Julia was
No,
going to be
no.
included in that because, she's
young.
a part of the House
That's
of Black.
part of my youth movement. She's 22.
What about Britt? Can Britt be part of that?
But Adam's got to be there too. So no, that can't be.
Selena and Alistair, they work separate. Buddy, there's plenty of couples that are separated right now. Buddy and Rhea.
But Buddy and Rio, no. I think there's still some more you could purge. I think you do a 5 for 2 trade.
Yeah, but we've got another couple coming back together with Andrade going back to WWE.
He was so happy working for Tony.
He actually, I was surprised he gave such a glowing review of AEW on Twitter. That was a very wild. I did not expect that him putting out a social media post thanking Tony Khan and everybody in AEW.
You know what? He was Mr. Collision. He took his hat off, said thank you for making me Mr. Collision. Because those are must-watch matches. Yeah. I'm like, oh, when you saw him come down with the mat, I'm like, oh, okay, here's another 25 minutes. All right, here we go. He didn't wrestle anything less than 25 minutes. It was always the classic.
No.
Always.
He's there for the night. Might as well use him, right?
So
I think the overall point here, though, is that 2024 should be quite possibly the best year of women's wrestling.
So we all agree it's AEW, just utilized correctly. But what's lacking WWE? What makes them less than AEW?
I think it's just talent at this point, and it's no offense to the WWE roster. I think AEW is just going to have more of it.
Yeah, but at the same time, they could do some really interesting things. Eventually, I think we're going to get the Bailey gets kicked out of Damage Control. I think you've got some interesting stories to tell there. That Damage Control and the talent that exists within that faction right now is
but I think when it comes to WWE, there still is the WWE, we'll call it style, like a Candice LeRae, a Tegan Knox, like women like that are never going to take the next step in WWE. Like they're going to be, you're who you are, and that's it.
I'll submit that the youth movement of the NXT women, that will bring some talent to WWE. The Kate, the Jorah, the Cora Jades, Danny Palmer. There's a number of women that I see here. Gigi Dolan, she's still on the main roster yet? Is she still NXT?
Tiffany Stratton. We saw what she did with Becky.
Yeah. So you have to replace the Ivy Niles with other younger talent, please.
Sure.
Thank you very much.
I thought Ivy did fine. It's just, her next to Rhea, a little bit of a different look.
It was a size problem. That was the problem with that match, size.
Yeah.
She's little, and then like Rhea's so strong and big, and it's like the matchup wasn't great because of the size. Yeah.
It just didn't work out. I appreciate they tried it, but it's just not easy. What do we got this week in news?
We'll start with free agency and some updates on names all over the place. I mentioned Mercedes Moné reportedly going to be signing with AEW soon. Deonna Purrazzo is All Elite. We saw that last night. Trinity expected to head back to the WWE, according to Sean Ross Sapp. Some others, Andrade no longer with AEW. And then the WWE releases, they're all free agents now. Mustafa Ali posting on Twitter, he's going to be working a lot starting next week, January 12th in Chicago against Gringo Loco, working with GCW. And Nick Nemeth, we haven't seen where he's going yet, but there's a social video, and we saw him this morning, Wrestle Kingdom, a little interaction with David Finlay.
Yeah, so it seems like they're not going to roll him out. I saw the social media post. They're not going to roll out the former Dolph Ziggler at New Japan, put him in the VIP area, and not pay that off. So clearly, he's going to be doing some things with New Japan. And if you're an American working in New Japan, clearly there's going to be AEW rumors.
New Japan in California next weekend, so maybe we see Nick there.
So we talk about a free agency movement in AEW, WWE. In All Japan and New Japan, there's a lot of that too. There's a lot of in and out there. They're not really stable in New Japan either. The funny part, there's a couple of things we got to talk about, but the funny part about Nick Nemeth coming out is that his brother, Hollywood Hunk, was right behind him. The camera just focused on Dolph. I'm like, what about Hollywood Hunk? What about him? He was just a guy, right? He just they kept focusing on Nick Nemeth. Like, what about his brother? Wait a minute. What about Hollywood? Nope. No Hollywood Hunk. The announcers in New Japan paid no attention. They're both coming down, and there he is, Nick Nemeth. But his brother's right there. That's how much of a douche Hollywood Hunk is. They don't even put him on the TV. Won't even talk about him.
If they put more Nick Nemeth on New Japan, there are some really intriguing matchups there. I might not cancel my New Japan World this time around.
I can't read. Still there. Sad. You know what I'm mad at? I'm mad at Impact, and I'm mad at some of these other companies. Like, so Trinity's here for a cup of coffee. Hey, Impact,
Right.
come on. Yeah, now you're TNA again. Cough up the money. Keep some of these free agents around. I mean, I understand you can't compare the money with AEW and WWE to TNA, but my God, can't you make an offer that's a lot better? Like the whole Will Ospreay thing. Ospreay said, I love TNA. Clearly, they couldn't pay him enough. I'm mad at them because they, after all this time being in business, Gabe, for God's sakes, get yourself a partner. Get yourself some sponsors. Just put the money together and say, could you stay with us another year? Can we make some pay-per-view money with you as a main event? I'm pissed off at that because it should not be a two-horse race. Someone else has got to come in this race.
I mean, it was a big win for them to get Trinity, but yeah, to lose her so fast. But they're going back to TNA next weekend.
Yeah, I'm not happy with that. I mean, and this is why, again, 2024, guys, is going to be so interesting with all of the free agency there. Mercedes Moné, we're sure she's going to AEW. I've seen the same thing. You
No,
sure?
I mean, until we see her show up, I don't think so.
Yeah, I'm not 100% positive. It's just that's the direction it's heading.
Well, that would change business for the right for the good for AEW. But again, it's about the booking, right? You put Mercedes Moné in there. She's the face of the women's division, but you got to book it right.
Yep.
She just can't be on a random rampage against, some mediocre superstar. You have to treat her like a star.
Yep. In the WWE world, continue to go international today. Triple H announcing Money in the Bank in 2024 will take place July 6th in Toronto. SmackDown NXT Heatwave there as well. That'll now be 4 pay-per-views or premium live events in 2024 taking place outside of the U.S.
Do you know if that's Blue Jays Stadium or is that just the arena where the Maple Leafs play?
Yeah, where the Raptors or Maple Leafs play. My guess is it's an arena event, unless they think they can. I mean, they go to Canada enough where I don't think that they'd be able to sell at a bigger venue, right?
I mean, Toronto's crazy. It's
Scotiabank Arena, so it's the arena.
Oh, inside, so 20,000.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so they throw the NXT in there as well, so they can be in front of a different crowd. That's smart.
Yep.
That's smart. That'll draw too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So Canada,
really
Australia, France, and Germany, all hosting in 24.
That's Nick Khan, brother. Nick Khan. Well, this is a whole different company now.
Well, especially because like AEW has a pretty good international presence. Again, we started the show talking about how their crowning achievement has been Wembley, but when you start paying attention to international markets, AEW does very well. Going to those international markets and doing shows, that's going to cut into AEW business. That's
smart. I mean,
smart business.
You could just tell by having those arena events going back to even last couple of years. We've talked about it. It's a different company without Vince hovering around. And then, by the way, a new show. Do you notice the open of Raw? You got the announcers in the ring, like kind of UFC style. I'm like, boy, you could tell this is post Kevin Dunn. Dunn would have never allowed that. They're on the house mic. Michael Cole in the arena. I'm like, whoa, this feels big.
And we're looking at them, and the camera's not moving around. Really weird.
Right. By the way, very few camera cuts.
Yeah.
Like we saw before. This, Gabe, we're watching a whole new Raw. Like that is. It shows you no Vince, no Kevin Dunn. Like this is going to be a different product. This will be Triple H's, full focus, his full view of how he wants the wrestling show to look.
On to the movie world. Chavo Guerrero Jr. tells CBS Sports that he has been approached about a Guerrero family biopic.
Good. Sign me up. Like if it's as good as the one I just watched a couple weekends ago, sign me up. I'm in for more wrestling family biopics.
I want the full view now. I want all of it. I don't want it to be the Guerrero family and it's all Eddie. I don't want that now. I want Hector as a gobbledygooker. Mm-hmm. I want to know what that felt like to be in that, coming out of that egg at Survivor Series. I want to know about Chavo Classic. Hopefully, you got some old California tapes from the 70s that I can see when he was dominating the LA market. I want all that stuff.
Speaking of movies, by the way, Aaron Dean Eisenberg, who played Ric Flair in The Iron Claw, not the best of reviews. He says he's sorry if you didn't like how he portrayed Ric Flair. He stands behind what he did.
Gabe, you see it? You saw it?
Yeah. That was So, I really like the back half of the movie. The early part of the movie, it all kind of seemed rushed. It was tough to try to, I think, like connect with a lot of those characters because there's a lot going on and they're trying to advance it so much. And I understand it's probably tough because in order to tell the full Von Erich story, that probably needs to be a longer movie. Again, they cut out one of the actual brothers, right? So like it probably needs to be a longer movie, but at the same time, you're making a movie about a wrestling family, so you probably can't make it longer and actually have people go see it. But especially the back half of the movie, I loved. Yes, my first review, the part of the review I texted to you guys was, how can you not have anybody like? Everybody does a Ric Flair. He's doing Sting woos instead of the Ric Flair woo. Like I could not believe that the one character that is everybody recognizes. And you get
better
wrong.
off if Jay Lethal was Ric Flair. And newsflash, those two don't look the same.
Thank you very much for that, sir.
Yep, you're welcome.
Thank you very much for pointing that out. Just a quick review from me, as Gabe mentioned. So there's a lot of death in that family, and if you haven't seen the Iron Claw, we ask you to go see it because it brought me back to my childhood watching World Class. So you're just going to cut out Chris Von Erich like he was never around. He killed himself as well. Young Chris Von Erich. Mm-hmm. MJF didn't get a chance to shine as Lance Von Erich, the fake Von Erich. God, that was so terrible. We come to find out that Fritz was a jerk off because he was someone who kept pushing the Von Erichs out there. I love the blurred lines of making wrestling real and not real. It came across as a legit sport.
Right.
That's just the way it was told. But Fritz pissed me off because I probably should have known this as a kid, but I didn't because I wasn't smart. But just the idea that he was pushing his kids out there and pushing them too much, and the mother had no say. Fritz's wife had no say in it, and Fritz was trying to do something that he never did, and that's become the NWA champion. And that was the big thing because World Class didn't have their own champion. They did not call it WCCW as they did. They did not have in-ring promos like that. But it's cool. It made it more modern. I get it, but they call it like WCCW. Like, they didn't really call it that. It was always World Class or World Class Championship Wrestling. The announcer that was Bill Mercer was actually better than Bill Mercer, the play-by-play guy. I was shocked. I'm like, boy, this guy's way better than Bill ever was. Bill was terrible. And by the way, where do you find a Harley Race lookalike?
Yes. Well, no, like the dude nailed. Like again, you get Ric Flair that wrong, but you somehow nail Harley Race.
Like it was like that made no sense. It was Harley. Like I didn't understand. I was like, what are they doing here? Like,
where do you find someone that looks like Harley Race? It blew my mind. I'm like, that looks just like Harley. It was great.
They spent all their budget on a CGI Harley Race. That's the only way you can actually explain it. They just CGI Harley.
Otherwise, I mean, the story was told very well. Yeah. Kevin should have been the NWA champion, but Kevin was terrible on the mic. He's terrible. He's 70 years old. He's still terrible on the mic.
Yeah.
Kevin Von Erich is horrible on the mic, and that's why he wasn't champion. David Von Erich was supposed to be the champion because he could work heel or babyface, guys. He worked babyface, obviously, in Dallas, but he would go to St. Louis or go to other territories and in Florida and be a monster heel. He was a jerk in other places, but only the territory only saw that in that particular area. So, I mean, tragedy, but also a refresher of how strong World Class was, that they were good enough to be viable. Now, it's funny because Fritz made it seem like that he was against the WWF at the time, and not really. It wasn't really a battle like it is now. It wasn't a wrestling war. It seemed like it was, but it really wasn't. But being on ESPN, that mattered some too. So,
but I will say, like, the movie made me go search out on YouTube and watch Flair versus Kerry in Dallas. And we talk about fans and crowds being into things they're making us feel. They ate up everything. Like, every little side headlock. And, like, when Kerry Von Erich eventually wins the title that night, it was such a big deal. Like, oh, I'm invested in this grainy footage right now.
I mean, Gabe, there was a time where all these Von Erichs kept killing themselves from, of all of them, David, and then the David dying, he didn't kill himself. He died in his bed in Japan. And, with Kerry, that whole thing, it's amazing how it's amazing that Vince put the IC title on Kerry with one foot.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
How crazy? How I mean,
It's wild.
like he was getting it done. We all knew what happened, but he actually wrestled well. He had some great matches against Mr. Perfect. But just the idea that he couldn't keep going, and of course he's gone, and then Mike, and they didn't mention Chris, but it's just like all of this to me was just that because Fritz was never considered good enough to be the NWA champion. That's all this was about, and it drove his kids to suicide, a lot of them.
Yeah, pretty insane. Finally, news and notes, Wrestle Kingdom 18 in the books took place about 1:30 a.m. Eastern, got started here in the East Coast. Naito, the new IWGP World Champion. Okada and Danielson, another classic that's now tied 1-1. David Finlay, the New Japan Global Champion. And Tanahashi, the New Japan Television Champion.
So, Gabe Neitzel, here's what this is what Broads and I have discovered. Those matches he just laid out, those are the matches that we saw.
Yeah,
we didn't have 8 hours to watch all of Wrestle Kingdom. We'll go back and watch the rest of it if we need to talk about it. But so with Will Ospreay against Jon Moxley against David Finlay, Fit Finlay's kid is amazing.
Yeah.
And I don't know if he's ever going to get to stateside and be a regular on one of these shows, but he was just amazing. Okada and Danielson is exactly what you thought it was, right? The only difference is Danielson did not break his arm.
Thank God. Thank God.
Well, I feel like we still have to wait for the post match and make sure Danielson's healthy. You never know with him.
30,000 people there at Wrestle Kingdom. It's always a good match. It's just long. It's just a long show. But the matches that Broach just talked about, those I thought were the best matches. I don't know why Tanahashi, who is the president of the company, wins a championship. That's bullshit. Yeah. I'm like, he could barely move against MJF. Remember we talked about that? We previewed that. I think it was Wrestle Dream, right? And I said, that's going to be the first match because Tanahashi can't move. Oh, here comes Tanahashi against MJF. It was like a 6-minute match. MJF was out the door, out and gone. He didn't even stay for the rest of it because Tanahashi can't move. I don't know what the American equivalent of that is, but I don't want to see him out there anymore.
Oh, Matt Hardy.
It's a good one.
Oh, boy. People come after you on that, man. Be careful. They're like the Swifties. Be careful. Oh.
Well, you just said wrestler who couldn't move. It's the first thing that popped in my head.
He won.
I will say, like, those 4 matches alone, like, it's worth the $10. Like, invest in New Japan for the month. Remember to cancel it if you don't want to continue to pay $10 a month. But, like, those 4 matches alone, well worth it. Shout out to their app. They now have an app. They didn't have that last year. You can skip around and watch matches. They're bookmarked. Ooh. Way to go, New Japan. Yeah.
Worth checking out. What do you guys have as your matches of the week?
Got another half hour? Oh, no, I'll make it short. So it's the matches we just talked about, so I can make it short. Ospreay and Moxley and David Finlay for the Global Championship. I don't know, bro. It's that. If it's not the best match on Wrestle Kingdom, there's got to be Okada and Danielson that went 28 minutes. It went 28 minutes, Gabe, and it was fantastic. And the reason why is because the story was told. Danielson was working on Okada's arm, so Okada can't hit the Rainmaker. And just a lot of these twisting moves, the hammerlock into like a cradle, and you can see the shoulder popping out on Okada. Like just crazy moves. And this is Danielson living his dream. Couldn't do this in WWE, but he can do this show here in Japan.
And to your point about Finlay, by the way, like we talked about before, like get that guy out of there. We want to see Mox versus Ospreay.
Yeah.
And they did a good job of telling that story. Like, hey, we're going to team up and get this douchebag out. Like, we're going to do our thing. And then he still shined in it.
Very, very good. So I like that. Darby against Takeshita, Dynamite. And I will give Rhea Ripley and Ivy Nile their credit because that was Triple H saying, okay, Ivy, I'm going to throw you into the deep end of the pool, see if you can swim. And I thought, again, that it was a matchup problem size-wise, but Ivy did the best that she could.
I agree with those. I hope we see more out of Takeshita. I feel like it's all the heat's on Callis right now. The other one I'll throw in there from Saturday, Adam Copeland versus Christian delivered again. Like, it's insane that we get to watch those two in 2024 do what they do, but that was a lot of fun.
Was that the best? Was that the best match at World's End for you?
From a wrestling, yes. From a story standpoint, I loved Eddie beating Mox in the way they did that match.
I was about to say Eddie beating Mox
was
my favorite match from World's End. Yeah. Well, again, it was going to be different, like, because those two are different, and we know that they're close, and like, I don't know, it was, to me, that was the best match I thought at World's End. That was the one that I enjoyed the most. I thought the main event of Raw ended up being pretty good. Again, like, oh, shocker, Drew McIntyre and Seth Rollins go, and then yes, I just hope that they kind of figure it out with some of these guys going forward, because like Takeshita's been off TV forever. And like, oh, shockingly, you give him some TV time against Darby Allin, and that matchup ends up delivering and sets up, a match next week with Sting coming back for Dynamite. So those were my three, but I loved, again, Eddie, and the way they told that story with Eddie coming from behind and with the whole Continental Classic. I thought it was a good wrap up.
And then check out his promo post Saturday. Like, those promos have been so damn good, and like the real emotion. Like, I love some Eddie Kingston.
Wait, so no love for the MJF Samoa Joe match. Didn't make it this week, huh?
Good match. Yeah, I mean, again, I think it was a good match, but like MJF was limited. I mean, him tip of the cap to him for wrestling, man. Like, again, and fighting through. And I think I saw some reports this week that he's looking for other options, but may have to have surgery. He wants to not to, but may need surgery. So trying to wrestle through something like that against somebody like Samoa Joe, who can be very physical, like, tip of the cap to him, but it wasn't my favorite match.
And then, of course, the reveal. We've been wondering who's behind the mask, and it's Adam Cole. We knew it was going to be Adam Cole the whole time, didn't we? I mean, we were speculating like Dr. Britt Baker or someone from outside the company, but it's kind of like, even though Cole can't wrestle, he's the devil. I just want that group to get hot, though. Like, give me some merch. They came out there still in the black. Okay, well, next week, you got merch. You got a new name. Let's go. Like, don't come out there and don't have any merch. It's like, that's another thing with AEW. Where's my King of the Bums t-shirt for Eddie Kingston? Where is it? I mean, you don't think that'd be a hot seller? Because he goes, Brian, you call me King of the Bums. Okay, well, where's my King of the Bums t-shirt? Is that on AEW shop?
Probably not.
That's the miss. Those are the things you miss, right?
Yeah, I mean, the only time I remember them jumping on something quickly was when it was Eddie and he was wrestling. I think he was at an All Out when he wrestled Miro, and he had the Redeem D's Nuts t-shirt. That was certainly a hot seller, especially with the professional wrestling crowd. Redeem D's Nuts was fantastic. They did jump on that, to their credit. They were able to sell that.
Where's my meat t-shirt? They're slapping meat and all that stuff. So, it's funny. Like, there's, again, we can go on forever about these matches, but this is the great era in which we can see any TV show, Gabe, and there's always 3, 4, 5-star matches that we just enjoy watching.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. By the way, with United Undisputed Kingdom, I liked that they threw Wardlow in the group too.
Yes, but
I think adding Wardlow adds
like
something.
The story of him, like, oh, he's going to give the title to Cole. Like, doesn't that feel like what you were doing with MJF?
His face to me seemed like, that's what I'm going to do.
You're already doing this.
Yeah,
you're already doing this with Kill Switch and Christian.
Right. Like, that's, I don't know.
Which is why I think Wardlow was like, again, the way I read Wardlow's face was, I'm not the puppet you think I am.
That's a baby. He's going to be a baby face. He's going to turn. He's with the.
You
group
mean
now.
when he was one of the most over baby faces, and they just like, we can move on.
You got to heat him back up again. Got to heat him back up
this
now.
Company.
One thing's for sure, we're going to have a lot of fun in pro wrestling in 2024. Make sure you join us. Comment, subscribe, YouTube. If you're just listening to this on podcast, we thank you for it, but you can also check us out. Part of the video feed we do, youtube.com/@GoodKarmaWrestling. Comment, subscribe, do all those things over on YouTube. Shout out to Jay Hood, who hooked up me and Brian with a little JR's barbecue rub, spicy ketchup, bunch of barbecue sauces, some mayo, or some mustard. We got it all, baby. We got it all.
It's not deodorant. What are you doing, bro? It's not sprinkling on yourself.
Using it like bath salts. That's how he's using it each and every week. We're going to have fun at